Now, so very excited today to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart and Mike's heart is this idea of taking advantage of SharePoint for project management. You know, SharePoint is a 12-year-old product, and 80% of SharePoint deployments around the world, unfortunately, is nothing but a big file dump. It's where files go when they want to die. There's so much more you can do with this, and in this session, what we're going to show you and talk to you about are 7 specific ways on how you can take advantage of this for project management. Now, quick background. So I've been involved with SharePoint from the get-go in 2000, 2001, but I really saw the power of this platform from a collaborative perspective, specifically for project management. And Mike has a similar background as well. And in fact, Mike, you used to work here, right?
Years ago, from 89 to, 93, I think, 94.
And then you were involved in project management too,
Absolutely.
back in those days.
Yep, right.
I wasn't born yet, so. But anyway, so this is something that we do in the last couple of years. We're with Innovative E. We're based out of DC and Atlanta, and Mike pretty much still lives here. And we focus on helping organizations take advantage of SharePoint to its fullest around project management and other business-focused needs. So what we're going to do this session this afternoon, we're going to do a lot of demonstration. Like Mike said, this whole session is being recorded, so what I'd like for everyone to do is focus and watch what we're doing. And just for being here, everybody will send you the information, but I'll give you a copy of SharePoint for Project Management. I don't know if you saw that book, but I wrote that book a couple years ago, and the latest edition is 2010. What's that? Yeah, so we'll give everyone a copy. We'll send you a code. You can download the ebook copy from Microsoft Press or O'Reilly and whatnot. All right? So what we're going to cover is we'll look at how we take advantage of SharePoint 2010 as a project management platform. We'll look at, in a typical project lifecycle, be it large or small, long-term or short-term, from planning as you get started with a project, as you start managing it, you think about building reports, right? Because typically when you get started with some initiative or some endeavor, what's a knee-jerk reaction? You start firing up an email. Hey, we want to start on this new campaign or this new program. And then, you know what happens, right? It just snowballs into a couple of people emailing, a bunch of attachments. You get copied, even if it has nothing to do with you. You like that? And then it just gets messy. So we're going to see how we can use SharePoint to make that better. We'll talk about how we integrate existing tools that we use. I'm not advocating we get rid of tools that we already use, but we can make it better. You know what the #1 collaboration tool is today in 2013? This was a formal research done. Anybody want to guess?
Email.
Exactly, email. A 1973 freaking technology. We can send people to the moon, but we still use email today. Right? We can do better, so we'll see how to do that. We'll talk about how we automate processes with things like workflow that's built into SharePoint. We'll look at how we build reports and dashboard. In case you know, you like dashboards here and reports? That's actually the secret to career success. Tomorrow, when you see your boss, look at them straight in the eye, one word, dashboard. Instant promotion, right there. So we'll see how we build these dashboards using SharePoint and related Office tools. And last but not least, we'll talk about mobile technologies as well. I mean, that's something we can't stop. We're in this bring your own device, BYOD world. We don't live in the Microsoft-only world, and that's fine. Right? You like your iPhone, cool. You like your Android, your tablets, that's cool, because we can use that along with this technology to better our project management practice. So, with that being said, I want to paint a picture first of what's going on today. Now, to the folks in the room, this might be a little small, but to the folks joining us via WebEx, I'm sure you can clearly see this. I like this drawing, this cartoon strip, because it depicts what's going on with our projects today. So let me highlight a couple of things. The first picture up on the top left, that's how your boss or the customer says they want the project to be. This is what I want, docs. You know, maybe a little swing with 3 chairs. The second picture shows how the project leader understood it. Third picture, that's how the analyst designed it. Yeah? How the programmer wrote it. How the consultant described it. You know, with angel singing. Ah. And then how it was documented. That's our favorite activity, right? Documentation. What operations installed, how we were built, how it was supported, and what the customer really needed. Why do you think this happens? You all laugh, but this is going on today, right now. Why do you think this happens in a typical project, sir?
Lack of explanation of actual requirements.
Okay, poor requirements, yeah. What else? Anybody? What about communication? Poor communication, or maybe irrelevant communication. Like I said, don't you love it when you get a copy of every single email has nothing to do with you? It just goes to your spam, and when the real deal comes in, you kind of didn't see it. I'm sure none of you, physically in this room or joining us in the call, are thinking, well, ducks, projects fail because we have bad tools. I mean, that may be a minor reason, but that's not the primary reason. I say that because I want to make sure we get our priorities in order. While I'm here, or Mike and I are here to talk about how you use SharePoint for project management, it's a freaking tool. Okay? We got to make sure we have the right processes, right standards, before we rely on any tool. And obviously there's other learnings about that, but realize that Project, SharePoint, other Office products are tools that can help facilitate better project management. You got to have your fundamentals in place. When we talk about project management, really there's 3 buckets you can look at. And one of the key pointers and realizations that I had a long time ago is when we talk about project management, we're not just talking about tools. Project management is a 3-legged endeavor. You've got who's working on it, how you do it, and then what tools you need to help you with. Today, when we look at maturity, there's the high-end, very mature project management practitioners, the guys building the space shuttle or whatever large initiatives they do, very disciplined, great. They're trained to do that. They have processes around that. They have complex tools that can help them. But what we're finding today, a lot of people, we fall in this first bucket. I call them the reluctant project managers. Well, ducks, I didn't go to school for a project manager. That's really not my day job, I'm in operations, but I have to work on this project, that kind of thing. And for this first layer, most of everyone's just relying on email, paper, Word, and Excel. But it can be better. So what I'm proposing here, gang, is let's look at how we take everyone to the next level. Not only we can use SharePoint and related tools, but also how we step up to the plate and not just rely on a tool, have some basic process, and have some basic project management know-how. Because what's not going to work, and we've seen this a lot, customers come to us and say, hey docs, our projects are failing, over budget, delayed. I think we need a better tool. Okay? That's not going to solve your problem, because a tool is just a tool. Now, let's talk about SharePoint. So, knowing this, in a perfect world, a project management system, the word PMIS stands for Project Management Information System, should be appropriate to the level of maturity and your needs. Also, what you want to make sure of is any project management tool you use should be accessible. Information can be accessible in a central location by the right people. Unfortunately today, you know what our project management system is? Again, it's email. Where's that report? Let me check my email. Where's that update on that new proposal? Let me check my email. You can only do so much with email and be effective. And lastly, you need something that allows you to easily and effectively collaborate. Now, there's a lot of great tools out there, a lot of complex tools, and then a lot of inefficient tools. We need that middle ground, and that's where SharePoint comes in. You see, SharePoint is a collaboration platform. I know that's a big word, and a lot of people think about collaboration or just working on files together, which is okay, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of different kinds of collaboration. There's us working together side by side. I'm working with my colleagues in Asia. When they're awake, I'm asleep. How do we collaborate? Maybe folks up at the International Space Station, right? So there's different layers of these collaboration and different types of information that goes back and forth. Ideally, if we have a platform that can help us better do our job and better work together, it should be something that allows us to centralize artifacts, files, contacts, schedules, streamline communication. I'm management. I just want to see if the dashboard turns red. That's all I care for, right? You know how they worship the red, amber, green stoplight dashboard. So how do you make it relevant and streamline it? And then how do you make it interact with existing tools that we use? One of the challenges we find is a lot of people throw in very complex tools and fail to think about adoption. You can't expect somebody who just learned how to ride a bike and suddenly you give them a space shuttle and say, okay, go fly this tomorrow. They'll be happy first 5 minutes, cool, you gave me a space shuttle, but I don't know how to work this. I'm just going to dump all my files inside the space shuttle, Atlantis, leave it in the hangar, I'm going to ride my bike to work, maybe space something. Email, because that's what I know. And I don't have time to learn how to fly the Atlantis. So we got to make it simple enough that people can adapt. And with SharePoint, the beauty of this is it's a Microsoft-based tool. You can work with it using existing tools that you have. So what I want to do, and I'll work with Mike, I'll show you 7 specific ways that you can do today with your SharePoint environment with your existing tools, Office, Windows, and even mobile devices on how you can better your project management practice relying on SharePoint as your PMIS. So the first way to leverage SharePoint for project management success. So let me go back to a typical scenario when you get started on a project. When your boss calls you up or there's a new project, be formal or informal. Again, the first thing we do is we need to talk to someone. Hey, we got this new initiative. Where are the templates? Who worked on this before? Can I look at some of the requirements that we had before? Everybody with me? And we usually do that in a physical meeting, and then past that, there's action items where it's just email back and forth. So to improve that process, in a perfect world, what you can do instead of relying on email, wouldn't it be great if you can use SharePoint as that one-stop shop for your project? Documents, contacts, schedules, tasks. And since you have access to SharePoint, what you can do is easily create a site that allows you to do that. So I just want to make sure, anybody using a Mac here officially or not really? All right, since there's one Mac person, I'm going to do all my demos in Mac. Just kidding. I'll do it in both, okay? So let's say I'm a project manager here, and in this company called SharePoint Cafe. We open coffee shops around the world, and I'm not an IT person. I don't know how to program. I don't know how to build websites. I just got training on how to use SharePoint for project management. So as a part of our project management process, to get started, my boss Dan said, Docs, we're going to open a new coffee shop at KSC. So you're going to lead that project. I go, okay. So as a part of our process, as we initiate the project, the first thing I have to do is to create a project site. So everything about the project will be here. So I go to our intranet. It's called SharePoint Cafe Intranet. And based on the training I had specific to me as a project manager, I can say, let's go ahead and create a new site. And the intention of this new site is to manage the KSC coffee shop project. So I'm sure some of you have seen this already, but as I create a site, one of the great things about this platform is it has a lot of out-of-the-box templates that I can get started with. When I talk about templates, you know how in Word, you have like a template for a birthday card, a fax memo, and so it has a lot of those out-of-the-box templates, but even better, you can create your own template so you can reuse it. So think about having a templatized project site for a specific project. Not only is a templatized site, you can load it with all kinds of documents and artifacts that you reuse through time. So I have a template here for opening a coffee shop project. So I'm going to call it the KSC Cafe project. And for the web address, whatever the web address with KSC, and I can hit create. Right? Now, as soon as I hit create, it will, behind the scenes, it's going to go ahead and generate this project site for me. And as soon as it's generated, let me open this up. I kind of pre-did it earlier before we start, and just to save time. This is what I ended up with. So think about this before I begin, or before I continue. As a non-IT person, as a project manager, 20 years ago, during Mike's time, if he needed a website to manage a project, well, there's no website back then, right? Okay, let's just say 15 years ago, if you needed a website to manage your project or to put artifacts together, who do you call if you're not IT?
Call IT.
Person. Call IT, fill out a ticket request, right? Dear IT, remember I bought you 3 rounds of Guinness last night? Can you get me a website? Do you get it right away? No. Even if your project is high priority and IT has to build something, it's not going to take 2 minutes, just like what I did. You talk about empowerment. IT can focus on the heavy lifting stuff. You can do your job and carry on because this tool can help you. Now, not only is this site created, let's quickly go ahead and do anything different here. Since this is a project site template, I know some of you, a lot of these looks familiar. You know, there's common sections called lists and libraries. There's announcements, there's discussion, but here's the powerful thing. I have a pre-populated document library with all the necessary templates and artifacts and checklists and everything I need for this type of project. Because we open coffee shop on a regular basis, so now it's packaged there. I mean, how many times as a project manager, when you get started on a project, where's that template again? Hey, let me call Joe. Hey, Joe, do you have that file that I can reuse? Oh, it's in Drive X, 14 folders deep. You can get me, it allows me to get started quickly. Now, let me jump into my Windows environment. Okay? So I'm the kind of project manager, as I get started, let me go ahead and go to my project calendar. Let me go ahead and put in our kickoff meeting. So as I put my kickoff meeting in here, so let's say this is the kickoff meeting, I'm going to schedule it. It'll be at the OSB2 building conference room A. All right. And let's say kickoff is next week, 27th, 1400 hours. It's all good. Save. Okay? Now, I know, again, some of you are looking at this who's relatively new to this tool. I mean, you get all excited about this stuff, but it's a website. What's a big deal, right? I mean, there's other tools out there. Google has some stuff or online free stuff. What's so special about this Microsoft tool called SharePoint? For now, I mean, yeah, it makes it simple. It's a website, but here's where the powerful keys come in. And I know a lot of us don't do this. I'm the kind of person, when I go to work in the morning, the first software I open, what do you think the first software I open once Windows is launched? Email, Outlook, yes? Outlook sits on my third monitor all day long. That's like my command center. That's like my Houston, right? See, I'm trying hard here. Now, Outlook is my command center, and it's not natural for me to go to the browser and, hey, let me check on the calendar, let me check on. It's just not natural. I look at Outlook almost always. So here's what I can do. I can take my project calendar, check this out. Up top here, this is called the ribbon interface. This is like the menu bar. When I hit calendar, I didn't have to do anything special. It says connect to Outlook. And it says, are you sure you want to do this? Yep. So when I hit connect to Outlook and hit allow and say yes, I just do that one time, my Outlook will open up and it will connect that KSC Cafe project calendar directly into my Microsoft Outlook. What does that mean? It means any new information entered to that project calendar shows up in my Outlook. I don't have to go to that project site. It just shows up. It also ties into my reminders in Outlook. Y'all follow me? So it's very similar with the concept of sharing calendars. But now I have visibility into this. And if you're like me, I'm not just working on a single project. Look at I have a bunch of projects I'm working on. And the cool thing is, again, Outlook is my command center. I can just look at all the different projects I'm on, all the calendars. Heck, I can move events or items around. So here's another thing. So notice that the kickoff meeting showed up in Outlook, but here's the other thing. Let's say I want to schedule a JAD session for a requirements development meeting. JAD session for requirements. See what I'm doing here? I'm entering the information directly in Outlook. I didn't even go to that project site. So as soon as I entered that and I hit save, where do you think that information is stored? In that SharePoint project site, that calendar. So if I hit refresh, voila, JAD session for requirements. Essentially what I did is I used Outlook as an entryway into interacting with SharePoint. Think about that. How many times do you have to enter the same piece of information in 3 different places? Oh, I got to put it in Outlook. Oh, I got to stick this in Excel. Oh, I got to stick this into our project site. Collaboration on your terms. SharePoint serves as the glue for your project-related artifacts, and you can interact with it not only with the browser, you can use Outlook, you can use Word, which you'll see in a second, Microsoft Project, what happened. So that's the first way you can leverage SharePoint. Create a site that will serve as your glue, as your one-stop shop, and you can interact with it. Second is you can efficiently store project artifacts. When we think of project artifacts, a lot of us think of documents, which is fine, but there's other types of artifacts and information you can store and use. Things like tasks, things like schedule, issues. So let me go back to my project site. Let me show a couple examples here. So one of the key pain points that I faced before is, speaking of documents, especially when you're working with a lot of people, one of the challenges I have is, number one, I have like a document and I email it to 3 people, hey, can you work on section 1, section 2, section 3? And I was expecting and hoping 3 documents come back, but I have 300 documents come back. And now I have to deal with figuring it out, putting it together, all that stuff. Y'all with me? Well, things like that can be addressed with out-of-the-box capabilities. So for example, let me first open this change impact analysis worksheet. And when I click on it, notice that it opened in the browser. There's actually a technology called Office Web Apps that's a part of SharePoint. It's like a browser-based Microsoft Office. You guys know like Google Docs? You familiar with that? This is similar, but 10 times better. And I'm serious, it's actually better. So the idea is if you're using a machine with no Office, you can still look at it, you can still work on it. Or if you want to edit it natively in Word, you can click OK, and you can open up the document. Realize that the document is stored in that project site, so no more downloading, copying my documents, and all that stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and edit it directly. So I'm going to edit it and say this is the KSC Cafe Project Change Impact Analysis Worksheet. Okay? I have to put worksheet. Okay, now, so let's say I'm working on this and I go, I need help on this document. Typically, what would we do? Again, I would take this document and email to people, hey, can you work on this? That's so like 1988. With SharePoint 2010, there's a capability called co-authoring. You guys heard of this? Let me first describe what it is. Co-authoring allows up to 4 people at the exact same time working on Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel document. You don't even have to do anything else, it's just there. So how do you do that, docs? Okay, so I got the document open. I'm going to ping my colleague, Mike. So I'm going to fire up, where's Link? Do you guys use Link here for instant messaging? Not yet? Okay, or whatever. It doesn't have to be Link. It just so happens we use Link in our work environment. So I fired up Link, or I can just email. I can say, hey, Mike, go to the project site, look at the change impact analysis worksheet. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go to the project site. I'm going to copy the URL, copy shortcut, and I'll fire up Link. Link is an instant messaging tool. So I'm going to look for Mike. There he is. He's available. He's in Merritt Island. Hey, Mike, can you make this document pretty? All right. So I did that, right? So Mike responded, sure thing. Now, keep in mind, I have the Word document open. So what Mike will do, because he's part of the project, he's going to jump into the document, open it up in Word as well. Now, how would you know, docs? I mean, the last thing you want is you guys overriding each other. Well, in a second, as this whole thing refreshes, check that out. Mike is editing this document. Y'all with me? Forgive my heavy southern accent. I'm from deep south. Southeast Asia, that is, Manila, Philippines. So, and then not only does it tell me that Mike is working on this, it even protects the section Mike is working on. Do you guys like this?
Yeah.
The powerful thing about this is you talk about collaboration and working together. I mean, I've seen people do crazy stuff. Oh, let's do a WebEx and let's open that Word document. I'm going to tell you what to change. No, this is it. So what Mike is working on, that top part, I can't even overwrite because Word knows, or PowerPoint. I mean, PowerPoint is another great example. I don't know about you, if you're building reports or briefings, one person will be working on slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, y'all with me? And then once Mike is working on it and he hits save, it'll tell me that updates are available. And this is actually a good thing. It doesn't really save it and refresh my screen because it might mess me up. I might be working on other stuff. So it just says updates available. So, okay, I want to see what the changes are. I can hit updates available and refresh it. And what did Mike put here? There we go. So, a little afternoon humor, but think about this. I didn't go anywhere. I stayed in Word. I hit Mike up on instant messaging. Hey, can you work on this? And in fact, you talk about instant messaging, and down the road, if you guys get linked, Mike's presence and availability is still in Word that I can just ping him there, and we can start chatting while we're in Word. Huge. The platform can do this.
So how does that override check in, check out?
Ah, very good question. How does that override check in, check out? That's like the bane of my existence. I don't care for check in, check out.
You don't either.
Now, let me step back. Conceptually, check in, check out is great. It's been there since 2003, 2007. This doesn't override it. This is better. In fact, because of this, there's no need for you to do check in, check out. As long as you turn versioning on, people can be jumping on, working together, saving, but versions are stored. You know the problem with check in, check out, right? People check it out, fine, they work on it, but they don't check it back in. It's like Hotel California, you know?
But
So-
versioning's doing an exponential save.
What's that?
Versioning's doing an exponential save, so that's going to eat up data.
It depends. That's true. Her question is versioning is doing exponential save. Actually, it's not that much, especially just typical Office documents. But if you're working on large CAD documents, that's a bit different story. Yeah. Now, so let's say Mike and I work on this. You know, that's fine. I take that. I close it. And then a few weeks later, Mike, the boss, walks up to me and say, "Hey, what did that piece of document look like 3 weeks ago?" Okay. Because we're under some compliance, I want to check what that document looks like. So because of the out-of-the-box, again, features like versioning, I could look at version history of that piece of document, look at that through time, it shows me 4 iterations of that document. Who touched it, what time, and I can do this myself, I don't have to call IT. Now the other part of this, friends, is the boss might ask, okay, how does the latest version differ from the very first time this document existed? All right, no problem. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open the latest version, which Mike worked on, and in Word, I can say review, compare, specific version. Because Word works together with SharePoint, it can pull up all the old versions, and I can select the very first version, compare it against the most recent one, and Word will generate a report showing me the original document, the updated document, and what changed. Do you guys know about this? Yeah, good. No? Yes. Is this something that'll be helpful for those that don't know about? Absolutely. Again, how many times you work with other people, you send a piece of document, 20 documents, you turn and scratch your head, what changed? Who changed it? And all this is out of the box. By the way, all the demonstrations I'm doing have step-by-step instructions, which it's in my book, so you get to do all this stuff too. Okay. Now, so that's the second piece on how you leverage SharePoint for project management success. You can manage artifacts much more efficiently. The third piece is you can facilitate better collaboration, and not only by, again, sharing files, but you can do a lot of things with existing tools that you use. For example, like Microsoft Project. Anybody use Microsoft Project? All right. Now, in 2010, there's a new capability that came about with Microsoft Project. So let me first explain the purpose of Microsoft Project. Microsoft Project is a tool that's used to build project schedules, track your schedule, and also resource management, and also project reporting. While you don't really need it if you're doing very simple projects with only a couple people, and it's just really a bunch of tasks. What Microsoft Project can do for you is if you start having complex dependencies, if you start having complex schedule, you can use Microsoft Project. But without Microsoft Project out of the box in SharePoint 2010, you can use a project task list to put in your tasks. So for example, here I'm in SharePoint, I can have a task that says, okay, this is the start task. It's a milestone, and we're going to first scout for a facility for a coffee shop. That will take 2 weeks to do. So I can do these little things, but that's as far as I can do. And it has a nice little Gantt chart, but there's nowhere here I can put in dependencies, do complex resource assignments. So what I can do is, if this project task list is not enough, I can go up to the list toolbar and just click on a link that says Open Microsoft Project. Are you sure you want to do it? Yep. And what's going to happen is Microsoft Project 2010, just like what you've seen earlier on how SharePoint can interact with Outlook and Word, will open up. Let's see. All right. Did I? Hold on. I think I was working on something else. Let me close this guy again. Oh, I put 0 days, okay. So that should be fine. And let me hit project again. There you go. Add a value for title for task 1. Let's do that. Oh, I know what it is. Okay, let's go back here. There you go. Yeah, I didn't enter it in because I didn't left the field. So let's do this instead. In the spirit of making the most out of the time we have, let me start on Microsoft Project site. So let's do this. So let's do this quickly. So start, scout for location, hire vendor, whatever. And I'll just make this simple. This will take 0, scout for location, 2 weeks. Hire vendor will take 3 weeks. And let me leave it at that for now. And I'm going to highlight all these things and make Microsoft Project automatically schedule my task. And let's say this is a finish to start dependency, if you're familiar with this. Essentially what we're saying is when we get started, the first thing we're going to do is scout for a location and then hire a vendor. It's all dependent on one another. This is assuming we're going to start today. And then I'm going to assign it to the resource docs. Okay, and I thought I put my last name. Okay, let's do this. Docs. Bring him in. Let's view. Let me go to my resource sheet here. Okay, so I'm going to put my last name. Okay, all right. So I've assigned the first task to Docs, and let's go back and let me assign the other task to Docs as well. All right. Okay, good. So I can certainly do that, and then once it's done, all I have to do is hit save. I can save it locally to my computer, which is fine, but here's the power of using Project and SharePoint. So traditionally, as project managers, when we use Microsoft Project, we plan our schedule, we build it, that's great. But as we run the project, and we use Microsoft Project, we want to track our schedule against it. Everybody with me? But what happens? Either we call, hey, how much have you done, Docs? 50%? Or can you send me an email how many hours you spend? Or maybe I email the Microsoft Project file around. Will that work? Yeah, what typically happens is you email a Microsoft Project file around, it comes back in Word, right? So it's a dilemma. Wouldn't it be great if I can just take this bit of information and publish it out to the project site, so my resources, my team, all they have to do, they don't need Microsoft Project, they go to the project site, and then they just enter their updates. And that's something you can do in 2010. So in Microsoft Project, I go to File, Save and Send, sync with a SharePoint task list. So it's going to sync with a KSC project site, and it's double checking and making sure I can do what I'm doing. And I pick the task list that's already there. I say sync with a project task list. So once that's done, so it's syncing, the beauty of this is project managers can continue using task 4, okay? All right. Project managers can continue using Microsoft Project. Let's see, it's a little share. Something's up with this task list. Let me just create a new task list here. Yeah, that's why. Let's delete this. Who's expecting information? Let's delete that task. There you go. Let me hit save and let me hit sync again. Task 4. Let's try this again. Let me just call KSC task. Okay, that's done. Training. Sync. There you go. Key SharePoint version. Okay, good. So now, once it's synced, let's go to our project site and see. On my list, it's called KSC tasks. And friends, you'll see all the tasks that I entered in Microsoft Project now available there. Y'all with me? So now the idea, your resource would just come here and update their tasks in the task list. So they can say this is 100% complete, this is 50% complete, and by the way, it doesn't even have to be percent. Some of you may be tracking hours. I spend 5 hours here, especially when you work with contractors. Or you want to track actual start, actual finish. So you can certainly do that. And once that information is entered, the project manager using Microsoft Project can just hit sync. And once they hit sync, the updates will be reflected back. So let me go to switch to a view called the tracking Gantt view. Okay, so let's hit File, Sync. All right. Didn't enter it. Let's make sure. Oh, let's make sure I'm out of the field here. Okay, this is 80%. I'll leave it alone in a second here. But once the project manager syncs it, that same piece of information will be Microsoft Project. So I'll leave it alone for now, so I'll make sure it gets stored. The other piece of functionality I want to highlight is, again, to a lot of us, we naturally work with Outlook. So just by having somebody to come here, put in their updates, might not be, it might take them a lot to do. So no worries. So what you can actually do is you can take this task list and make it available in your Outlook tasks. So notice my Outlook tasks, I have a bunch of SharePoint tasks connected, task list connected. So what does this mean? It means that the resource who might be doing their updates, guess what? They don't even have to go to the project site. They can put in their updates directly in Outlook tasks. Okay, so starts completed. This is 50%. Yeah, I think the updates I put in there didn't take it. But guess what's going on? I put my update here. It goes to the SharePoint site. Project manager can sync it with Microsoft Project. Y'all with me? Very powerful. So you talk about improving collaboration with tools people use. You can do that. You can enhance communication. You can provide the right information at the right time by delivering the right tasks, the right schedule, the right reports. So another scenario, another example I want to show you. So this, in this example, let me go back to the project site here. So this actually happened to one of our customers. We helped them roll out SharePoint. We taught them how to use SharePoint for project management, which is great. And at any given point in time, they had 100 projects. Before that, they relied on email, network share, and all that to manage projects. So now they're using SharePoint for every project. They have a project site. That's great. Everything's centralized. One of the things we found out is at the end of the month, they send an Excel file to Miss Sally in accounting for all their project expenses. So imagine Miss Sally at the end of the month would have 100 Excel files via email that she has to extract and put together a monthly expense report. You know, Miss Sally? So I talked to her, I said, how much time do you spend doing this, Miss Sally? She goes, I spend about 7 to 8 hours in total a month just to gather all these Excel files, put my report together, and sometimes I even have to do overtime. So I asked her, would you be interested if we can cut that time down into 5 hours or maybe 4 hours? Would you be interested with that? She goes, yeah, of course, but. I go, but what? You see, Docs, I'm retiring in 2 years, so I don't want to learn anything new. All I want to use is Excel. If you're going to tell me to use a new system, forget about it. I go, no. You're going to use Excel. I'm going to show you something you can do in Excel. In fact, here's what we're going to do. We're going to tell project managers, instead of emailing you their expenses in an Excel file, we'll just tell them to enter it on the project site. And then as soon as they enter it, it's going to automatically appear on an Excel file sitting on your desktop. You don't even have to go anywhere. Would you like that? She goes, okay, show it to me. So I go, okay, so let's fire up Microsoft Excel. And so this is, remove all these files. So this is a blank workbook, so let's call this a KSC Cafe project. And I'm going to put item and then cost. So I'm just going to put this simply. So let's say we bought some computers for the new coffee shop, and we bought some chairs. Right? Computers cost $1,000. Chairs cost $800. Okay. Now, in fact, I'm going to make this cost column the right format. So in this case, I'm going to make it currency. So this is all very straightforward. I'm sure you all are familiar with this. Now, here's what I did. I said, okay, here's what we're going to do, Miss Sally. So let's say this is some expenses the project incurred, and we're putting in some information. I'm going to take this in Excel and convert it to what's called an Excel table. By the way, friends, everything I'm doing here is out of the box. I didn't install anything special. When I convert it to an Excel table, check out what happens in Excel. Do you want to synchronize this with SharePoint? So now what I can do is I can take, instead of typing in the address, which I could do, but in the interest of time, I'm just going to tell Excel, hey Excel, go to this SharePoint site and create what's called KSC expenses list. Take the information that's been entered in Excel and publish it. And not only do you publish it, I want you to keep the connection so we can synchronize, just like what I showed you earlier with the calendar and Microsoft Project. So now once that's done, here's what we have. So now, when project managers want to put in their expenses, notice I'm in the KSC Cafe project site, the expenses list is there. So now the project manager can just come in, and instead of sending Excel files via email to Miss Sally in accounting, and put in their expenses. We bought a car for this project. It was a $90,000 car. We needed it for the coffee shop. Now, how would Miss Sally know? As we all know, in Microsoft SharePoint, in every list, in every library, there's an alerting mechanism. You all see that? As a project manager, I can say, you know what? Anytime anything changes here, let's go ahead and send Miss Sally an alert, whatever. That's called micromanagement. But, just kidding. So now, I left the page too quickly. So now, let's say an alert goes to Miss Sally. She can say, oh, there's a new expenses that was entered. So you just open her Excel file, and from her Excel file, she can hit synchronize. Look at that. That same piece of information is now available in Excel. But wait, there's more. As you can see, the project manager entered it twice erroneously. Miss Sally can fix this. So first things first, she was looking at the invoice. She goes, "You guys didn't buy a car, you bought carpet. It was $900." And then for this one, I saw another expense here for tables. I'll just update that. And this was $2,000. Okay. So Miss Sally can be editing all this expense information in a software or a tool of her choice, which is Excel. And then once she's done, she can push that information back by hitting synchronize to that project site. And once she does that, let me hit refresh. The project manager, since he or she has alerting turned on, will get an alert. And when he or she looks at it, look at that. same piece of information is now updated. You guys like this? Now, this is not a new feature. This feature has been there since Excel 2003 and SharePoint 2003. It's a 10-year-old capability. So friends, my point here is while SharePoint is great, it's a great project site where you can find value if you start working with it with existing tools that you use. Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Project. What do you think so far? Useful stuff? Okay, good. The last part of the story here is so Miss Sally connected this to the other 100 project site, or 99 project site. She created a summary sheet. You know how in Excel you can have a summary sheet, pull the data with the reports. 2 months later, I talked to her. I asked, so how's that going, Miss Sally? She goes, Ducks, thank you. Because I calculated how much time I spent this month. Instead of 7 hours, I only spent 5 hours. Because I have to deal with email and put all the Excel files. And I think I can do better next month. I didn't even have to do overtime. Yes.
Can Miss Sally's backup have the same file on her desk and get synchronized? Or is it only
Very good question. So if there's another person working with Miss Sally, can you have 2 Excel files pretty much synchronized to the same list? Based on what I just did, the answer is no. Now, there's a way around that. What we could have done is took the Excel file, instead of leaving it on her My Documents folder, it could be in a library, right? Or it could be in a network share, where a couple people have access to it. So that's a workaround for that.
Does it give you a message that says somebody already has it synchronized, or how do you know that it's been synchronized with someone?
Very good question. So the question is, how would you know if it's synchronized or not? It doesn't give you a message, but what the behavior is, when you open Excel the first time, it's going to synchronize, but while you have the spreadsheet open, it's not going to auto-synchronize, because it doesn't want to mess you up. You have to hit the synchronize button. So when it opens and closes, it synchronizes. Now, if there's a conflict, for example, somebody edits something on the project site, and then you edit the same thing in Excel. In Excel, there's a conflict resolution wizard will pop up. It'll say, look, there's 2 different pieces of information. Which one do you want me to do? Obviously, the person working on Excel is always right, so you take the Excel version. Now, if you have versioning turned on, that's cool, because you can always go back. In case you don't know, versioning also works for your list. It's not just files. So you can go to lists, and any data that's been updated, you can keep track of it. Now, the other thing in this scenario, we talk about reporting and communicating information. You know, what if that list of expenses grows to like a bunch of stuff, and management just wants to see where the bulk of the money is going? Wouldn't it be nice if you had like a nice little pie chart in here, or some kind of chart? Absolutely. So what you can do is, in this scenario, on my homepage, I can enter in information, or I can enter what's called a web part. What web parts are, these are little programs that you can take advantage of. And I'm going to insert, there's a lot of visualization tools and web parts you can use. I'm going to insert what's called a chart web part. And when I drop the chart web part, what you can do, friends, is you can pick the type of chart you want. So, all right, so let's say I want a pie chart. Okay, while that's loading, I'm going to bring up another example for you. All right, so let's pick a pie chart. There you go, friends. Okay, and certainly you can change size and colors and whatnot. So there's my pie chart. Now I'm going to connect this to that expense list. So connect chart to data, and the nice thing is you can connect it to data within that SharePoint site, or you can also connect it to data in Excel or data from other sources. So in this scenario, I'm just going to connect it to that expense list that was generated from KSC expenses that was generated from Excel. Next, you can put in formulas, you can put in, whatever parameters you want, but let me just hit finish. There you go. So what do we have now? We have a real-time chart that depicts your expenses. This is huge because now you don't have to worry about, I got to put together this report again for my boss manually every week. The fact that the expense information is updated, guess what? this chart is updated as well. So for example, Miss Sally was entering some other expense. You saw a receipt. We bought some coffee beans for $5,000. A lot of coffee, okay? And she synchronizes it. What happens? This piece of information updates the expense list on the project site, which is reflected on the chart. Refresh. Coffee beans. Y'all see that? Did you ever imagine a day that Excel can be used to update a web page? It's here. So, a couple other ways. You can automate project processes. There's a lot of out-of-the-box workflows in SharePoint. When I talk about processes, some may be thinking complex processes. It could be as simple as change request process, right? Instead of emailing stuff, you can have a process where people enter their change requests. I want more money, or I need more time, and then automatically the system will contact the right person or perform specific activities based on the criteria. And certainly you can extend this too with other complex workflows that you want to do. Sixth way you can take advantage of SharePoint for project management is you can create reports. I just showed it to you. There's a lot of different visual tools you can use. In fact, if you're wondering how far you can take this, I want to show you an example out there. There's a bunch of public dashboards or public websites that's using SharePoint as a technology. So this is the Virginia Department of Transportation, powered by SharePoint. So it shows the general public on how they're doing with all these different metrics. I'm sure the guy got promoted. But you can drill down. You can go to a specific dashboard and drill down to the data so you can look at the detailed data. And a lot of the data there not only is coming from out-of-the-box SharePoint, some of the data is actually coming from other systems and other technologies. Last but not the least, seventh way you can leverage SharePoint for project management success is take advantage of the mobile capabilities. So out of the box, you don't have to do anything. If you just put a /m after your SharePoint site, it gives you a mobile optimized version. Pretty much it's a text-only version, and I'm sure some of you have to address Section 508 compliance. So if you just put /m, it's a text-only version of your site. In addition, you can do a couple other things. So let me show you another example. So one of the tools I use a lot is OneNote. Do you guys use OneNote? Anybody use OneNote? I love OneNote. OneNote is a Microsoft Office product that allows you to just take unstructured information and you can use it for a lot of different things. So just to show you, I've got, let me minimize this. So on my intranet, I have a OneNote notebook. This is where we capture all our project or all the project-related unstructured information. And what I did is when I created this, I uploaded it to my intranet. So this is the regular OneNote. It should look familiar to you. This file has been uploaded to my intranet, and then I can open up in the browser as well. So it's using Office Web Apps. There's OneNote. Now, let's talk about mobile. So I'm the kind of project manager, we were opening a coffee shop, and part of the process is I have to capture the building of the coffee shop. I can take videos, I can take pictures. It used to be when I do these things, taking videos or pictures, I end up copying on a USB stick or emailing somebody. It's not efficient because in the spirit of having a one-stop shop, every information about the project in this one place, it will be great if I store these pictures or videos or interviews on the project side as well. Y'all with me? So what I'm going to do, I just opened, I went to the project site using my phone. It could be any phone. It could be an iPhone, Android, Windows phone, doesn't matter. I opened that OneNote notebook because it's Office Web App. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture directly on this OneNote notebook. And as soon as I take a picture, guess what? It's going to show up here. It's going to show up in the OneNote client as well. Can you help me, sir? Come on. I'm going to have him take a picture. Because it's one thing me saying it, but it's another you seeing it. So if you can stand here, I'm going to be in the picture. Can you just tap the middle. All right, just wait. Just anywhere. Wait a second. Okay, you guys smile because I'm gonna tag you on Facebook later. All right, thank you, sir. Good? Let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you. So what did I just do here? So essentially, I went to OneNote directly on the project site. It could be a video, it could be a picture, it could be an audio interview, it could be text. And what's going to happen is that piece of information, obviously, as long as I have internet connection, will sync, and in a second you'll see it here. But think about the power of this. What if I have alerting turned on? What if I have workflow turned on to say, anytime Dux has put something on this OneNote notebook, call the commander or call the boss, and so we can work on it together, versus emailing stuff back and forth, right? And let's see, I think it's finished. Let me force a refresh. All right. Let's give it a second here. There you go. Oh. Ah! You see that? And if I force a refresh here, because I think this syncs every 5 minutes or so, but let me just force the syncing here. Which one was that? PMO notebook, I think that's it. I'll just wait. Let's see. Yeah, I'll give it a second. But the point being is, you see it work. See how powerful that is? And you can do this today. That's why earlier I was asking you, Dawn, if you can VPN in.
So you have your OneNote as a document in a document
In the library, that's it.
Okay.
I just took that OneNote notebook, stick it in the library. So I click on it in the library, just open it on the browser. And there's other things you can do now, right? You put the OneNote notebook there, you can have other people.
Collaborating.
Absolutely.
We were trying to find a better way to collaborate, but the dashboard, the SharePoint one wasn't effective. The wiki page?
No, Wiki's not. I mean, idea's good. OneNote is much better. Do you guys like that? Yeah. So I know I can talk more and show you more, but I want to wrap this up with a little video to expand your mind and think about how much more you can do with your SharePoint platform, especially for project management. What do you guys think? Useful? All right. So I know we're 3 minutes beyond our time together, but if there's any question, we'd be more than happy to address any questions you might have. Yes, sir.
How does SharePoint compare with Confluence? You know what Confluence is?
Yes.
I think it's a content management system,
Sure.
wiki-based. And is
Sure.
this a content management system too?
Yes, and everything. So that's a good question. I want to show you a picture. I'm going to bring in a slide that I think this slide would kind of explain it all, and this would bring it home. Just give me a second here. This is from another presentation I did a couple of years ago, but I have a slide explaining, giving you, here you go, a good sense of what SharePoint is, and I'll answer your question. So the question from the gentleman is, how does SharePoint compare to Confluence? It's actually a different thing. You see, when you think of traditional products like Confluence, Clarity, Documentum, those do specific one thing: content management, knowledge management, web, CMS for web. SharePoint can do a lot of that. When you think about SharePoint, think of SharePoint as a business platform. So what I just did today, while it may seem like that, well, SharePoint was a website for project management, which is great, but keep in mind what I also did. I use Word and Excel to push information to SharePoint. I use my phone. There's that built-in deep integration with existing tools, at least the client side people use, where tools like Confluence or Documento or Clarity cannot do. The other piece of the puzzle is, since it's a Microsoft-based stack, let's say I have information on my project management site, and I use Excel to push information. Well, guess what? If I have other applications that I leverage SharePoint off of, like my intranet or HR onboarding or corporate communication, I can make information flow as long as I have the rules set up correctly. Let's say I can enter something in Excel, it's going to show up on my project site, also going to show up on corporate communications. You with me? So how does it compare? I mean, I'm sure Confluence has more features, more capabilities, but at the base level, since it's a platform, I think the benefit of it is a deep integration with Office tools people already use.
Some people would argue that when you get into non-Windows platforms like Macintosh, I haven't heard anything about Linux support.
Sure, very good question. So in 2010, there's a better cross-device, cross-platform. I use a Mac myself. It started in 2010, fine. In 2013, it's far deeper. And Microsoft, they realized they can't be a one-trick pony Microsoft shop anymore. In the most recent iteration, 2013, it works on anything. Literally anything. Other questions? Was this helpful, gang? All right, well, thank you for having us. We'll be around if you have questions, but like I said, I'll work with the team. As long as you signed in, we'll send you the presentation video, the PowerPoint, and the code for the ebook for SharePoint project.
Make sure you put your email address on the list.
Yeah.
Too, so.
Oh, you didn't have a spot for that.
I know.
Thank you.
And Doug's on behalf of the Pinergy Engineering Academy, I have the coveted certificate.
Oh, wow, thank you.
For being a presenter. We really appreciate you coming here and sharing your knowledge.
Okay, thank you so much.